Hello everybody and welcome. We are back on Hades Bonds. It's not been long since we saw it, so let's see how the big boys deal with it. Today we have a 1v1 between Barcast, also known as Sun, but now also back to being called Bison, and then back to Barcast, versus Blodir. Both players playing Cortex today, and as you can see already, a similar start position as we saw last time for Barcast, but Blodir's position is basically one of the spots that we mentioned. Start positions of here, and or here. In essence, both players have picked the same start position here because of the way that the map is mirrored. But yeah, both players going for bots, and the reason for that will be due to the amount of crystal reclaim. This will minimize your need to build additional power because you're able to offset it with the crystal production. Not only that, but this hill over here, although it can be gotten to by bots, by vehicles, it's just easier, quicker with bots. Not only that, but with having to build solar, with how bad the wind is right now, the reduced metal cost of bots will help in this early stage. We will probably end up seeing the players transition to vehicles a bit later on, but that will be a little while until then, at least. Blodir expanding with their commander, but rather than what you would normally see, which would be a push towards the center with the commander. That is a terrible arrow. Blodir expanding south with his commander instead. So we may see Blodir make one of two paths here. Blodir is either going to go straight down like this with his commander, for the reason being the commander obviously has the most build power. So the plan is to cap these metal extractors, the start position metal extractors, as quick as possible using the commander. Or we're going to see Blodir go like this, cap these two sets of start positions, and then basically fortify this kind of front line path here between him and Barcast, enabling him to expand behind it with relative safety. Although selecting his commander, it does look like we're seeing the metal extractor path. We can see here he's building the metal extractors, LLT to defend, and then just moving straight on to the next triples to get those up as quick as possible. So Blodir going for a heavy metal investment in this early start, trying to get as much metal as possible, not focusing on harassing at all. Barcast looks to be maybe doing something similar, although a little bit behind on starting that. However, doing a lot better when it comes to energy, Barcast is. So the question is, from this position, will we see Barcast move towards the center, or will he continue up and round similar to Blodir? Now the LLT already paying for itself by getting stopping this grunt harass. Now this LLT is not the best of positions because obviously units can pass, especially grunts can pass like this or even like that. So we select a grunt here, press F2. You can see that it can pass pretty much actually straight over the center, the top of the hill, with relative ease. Although it does look like it's impossible to actually pass this part of the hill anymore. I swear they used to be able to do it, but grunt being moved here to protect this next mech that doesn't have an LLT, at least until Blodir gets some stuff up and running. Now Blodir not really building any form of grunts at all, only just starting now, still struggling with energy pretty much the entire game, and still struggling but building the con turret. Probably needed to get his energy going first a bit more, but there is a lot of solars planned. You can see him just queuing up a huge line here. Now the one thing with solars is he is going to be able to reclaim them later for metal. He does have wind queued with this constructor over here. And probably once all that wind starts going up, we're going to see some of these solars getting reclaimed in order to get that metal investment back. Barcast is actually expanding with a constructor here, though, which should increase the speed at which he's able to get this up. Looks like he's actually switching now to splitting the two up. Armed metal extractors in this forward point will make it a lot more difficult to harass, although they're not the best things in the world, especially if we see stuff outside of the raider units like grunts and such. Now, the one problem with this map is because it's so big. The first like 5 minutes, I mean, nothing's really happened except for choices on where each player has gone. But both players have basically done the same thing now. We can see Barcast has actually queued up all these. Hasn't actually gone to block this off, and instead has actually moved around, as you can see here, to get the water mechs and then make a really long walk back to the base, probably to provide additional build power to stuff in the base. Now, first actual attack here from Blodir will make it through very quickly, desperately trying to get that LLT up, and will manage it as Blodir decides to back off. And that's it. That's all the aggression. Maybe we're about to see a bit more here from Blodir, but I have a feeling these grunts are just positioned here as a defensive measure whilst the constructor here builds up defenses. So here we are seeing an interesting first choice. Blodir has chosen to go vehicles here with some incisors to be added to the grunt army that he currently has. Whereas Barcast here has decided to go for fighters. Probably gonna get some shurikens up and stuff like that. But as of yet, just fighters. Probably expecting maybe a bombing run with the lack of forces being spotted. Now, with both players having bots, whoever gets control of the reclaim field will be important. Barcast has kind of gone head first into this combined force here of Blodir, and now definitely needs to retreat. Still no shurikens being built, but vehicles being added to the mix here from Barcast. So 3 Tech 1 factories in the running here for Barcast, and a muskrat has also been built here, maybe with the intention of getting tidals, as we mentioned before in the previous video. Previous video on this map, at least. But you can just see how quick these players have gotten all of the map under control, as opposed to the previous Hades Bombs map we saw. A lot more units being produced, a lot more expansion being focused on, especially in this early stage. But we see here now an army of 30 versus an army of 19. And Barcast needs to be extremely careful that he doesn't push too far. The scout literally just spots that, or sorry, the fighter spots that huge army there of Blodir. And now Barcast needs to be careful. Looks like the Resbot is going to be attempted to be sniped. Yeah, it gets killed for the loss of 1 incisor. Still no shurikens out from Barcast here, but that was a better trade for him, losing basically nothing for 2 incisors. But with brutes now starting to make their appearance, pounders coming out from Barcast, pounders will be the better option here. Especially for Barcast, pounders are an extremely strong defensive unit. Trying to fight in the LLT's range here. Losing too many units though to the brute's range. Also, this pounder's pretty beat up already. losing so many res bots just to get one incisor that gets instantly killed. Now combined force of pounders, brutes, incisors, and grunts go all into the fight. Shurikens on their way out as well, but turn around before they get close. Fighters already here from Blodir. And this is where all the action is taking place. Fighters now go at it. But being this close to the base of Barcast, that was going to be a losing fight. And the reclaim field of 1k will go to Barcast. Blodir has been struggling with energy pretty much this entire game, though. And is still struggling. Only now just starting to be somewhat positive on energy. But slowly building up a huge excess of metal. Tech 2 transition has occurred with a heavy trans ready to pick up the Tsar and move it to the front. This is why Blodir, is struggling with energy with the transition to Tech 2 metal extractors and the Tech 2 transition itself. Barcast has gone Tech 2 himself here, but with bots as the focus, how will the bots deal with the Tsar? It's going to be difficult. Both players did go for the Muskrat here to get the Amphib pawn up to get those titles. It's a very sensible move because it's pretty hard to aggro and kill these titles without something like bombers. And you can see Barcast's calm actually just playing it safe in the pond at the moment with just a little grunt hiding above the water. Also a Tech 1 vehicle factory up here. Interesting. So the plan is to just do some bit of aggression at the top here with the other vehicle factory. It maybe looks like he split up his forces as well to try and do a bit of aggro somewhere else. That's a good plan from Barcast here. Just trying to cause Blodir to have to spend his APM elsewhere, moving forces to have to do something elsewhere. It does mean that the forces on the front here are extremely vulnerable. And as the Tsar arrives, Blodir may have noticed that it's looking quite fragile as this huge force makes its way up to the top here. Both grunts and brutes. Hoping that Tech 2 will save Barcast, but now realizing that Blodir has his own Tech 2. And a Tsar is not going to be easy to deal with. Trying to amass a Sheldon ball here in an attempt to slow down this. Now Blodir's attention is elsewhere right now, trying to deal with this, which is why these Sheldons are able to start damaging down there. But as soon as they've noticed, you see here that everything's just piling in. Pounders take the front position here to deal with the grunts. Oh, but the radar jammer and radar bot get taken out. Shurikens inbound. Oh my god, are we going to see a Tsar steal here maybe? No air transport, but the Tsar will get taken out as Barcast just barrels down onto it. And that was a big mistake by Blodir there, losing that Tsar already before it really was able to do anything. All down to pretty much this force up here. Blodir's attention split massively by all of this raiding harassment by Barcast. And it's just split his attention so much that he wasn't really able to pay attention to that Tsar. The Tsar does need a good amount of micro if you're going to go for it. And just not able to provide that. Barcast now currently sitting at positive metal. Slowly building up a bit of a stockpile. Blodir not the same. have a look at the stats momentarily though. Both players neither with metal excess at this point in time. Army value is a little bit over the place because Blodir here is losing a tremendous amount of forces. Still no radar or radar jammer bot from Barcast here, meaning these Sheldons are not going to be anywhere near as effective. Shurikens look like they're about to get taken out here as the fighter wave comes in. And counter shurikens. How do you counter shurikens? With your own shurikens, apparently. Oh, that one fighter already able to take out 2 shurikens and then massively failed afterwards. No, the hero fighter. The hero fighter. No. Oh, but the Sheldon. We missed it. We missed it. But the Sheldons. Some of the Sheldons got caught out up here. No, still no radar or anything for this Sheldon ball of Barcasts. A Twitcher did try and build a bit of a minefield, which has definitely slowed down this force, forcing it to turn around as the Pyros make their way in. Pounders are coming up here, attempting to slow down the forces, but instead just getting obliterated as the Fiends go elsewhere. There's just fights taking place everywhere here. It's a bit difficult to try and keep track of everything. This really needs some, like, radar jammers or something. It's unable to fire to its fullest extent because of that. Force here in this middle is having to be pulled back to deal with the Sheldons. This has just been sent on its own course here. I don't think he plans on keeping that alive. Meanwhile, up here is a bit of a problem for Barcast. The Fiends do get right on top of these bulls. Not bulls, sorry, tigers. I kind of wouldn't be surprised if we see Barcast maybe transition over to Tech 2 vehicles. I don't know how well he's going to do if Blodir starts adding Banishers to the mix. Plenty of Twitchers out as well. I don't know, instead he looks like he is just focusing on that. He's got a Mammoth already out, which will help deal with the tanks, but see how quickly Fiends die here to Tigers. Able to stop the Requiem being gathered, but still trying to buy time for this Mammoth to arrive. But a single Mammoth versus all of that is a bit much to ask of the Mammoth, I think. Sheldon Ball does manage to escape. The Tigers actually managed to get through that hole. No. Yeah, you can see this Mammoth's not really doing that much damage. Interesting to see what Barcast plans to do. Mammoths are so slow, it's going to be really difficult to have them effectively used, but he is doubling down on them. Which is surprising because of how big this map is. You would think going for a really slow, heavy unit is not the call, but these guys are just literally going to go around like this now instead. And it's probably going to get to here before the Mammoth makes it there. Fiends will try and do what they can, but they're just opening up a hole for Blodir's other forces that are in the center to deal with. And now with Banishers coming out as well, the Banishers will be able to outrange the Mammoths and will just slowly whittle down the Mammoths, forcing Barcast to engage the Banishers instead. But this isn't going to work. He is trying to build air transports, but he's building the wrong type for that purpose. Trying to rush a pop-up turret, but it isn't going to get built in time, meaning that all of that build power is also going to go down. And that was a valuable attack there by Blodir. Not only does he manage to push further forward along the top, manages to kill the expanding con of Barcast. Now there is another one back here, but still. And we can see both Mammoths here firing at the same time. See how long it takes to kill a run. Not only that, but we're talking radar wobble as well here, not helping. That's a lot of metal extractors to lose. Not only that, but Blodir getting all of the reclaim here. Barcast losing 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 metal extractors. Maybe even more than that if you include those two. It's a lot to lose. Meanwhile, we know that, you know, basically the same thing happened up here. So I guess it's kind of even. Mammoth's intending to be the front line for the Sheldon Ball, but the Sheldon Ball still with no range, no radar or jammers here, an attempt to keep them safe. Barcast though transitioning to Tech 3. Mammoth's clearly just being here to provide a solid defensive line for now, but Shurikens on their way in on the top get caught up on the Fiends instead, and the Mammoth actually does a very good job at dealing with all of the Shurikens. And the Shuriken's actual target was definitely the Mammoth. Mammoth getting completely destroyed. And now this is looking a bit risky for Barcast. Sending the Mammoths up top to defend leaves a huge hole in the center. But the Shivas have just come out in time. Will we see Tech 3 coming out here from Blodir? A reclaim of the Tech 2 vehicle lab and Tech 3 of his own, as well as 4 Tech 1 factories of vehicles, a Tech 1 bot lab, 2 Tech 2 air lab, Tech 1 air labs, and a Tech 2 air lab being produced by Blodir. All of the factories, ridiculous amount of factories. Not only that, but 2 Junos. It's Blodir building all of the things. Blodir definitely going for a quantity over quality approach here with mostly Tech 1 units in their army. You can see that the Banishers doing a pretty good job versus these Mammoths here, able to outpace them, outrange them. And now managing to clean up some more expansion of a Barcast. Not much, just a single metal extractor down here, but it was the key to this side. But with Tech 3 defending it now will be a bit more difficult. It's interesting seeing Blodir use so many Junos though. He's clearly trying to remove vision from Barcast, trying to find ways to get in and find holes. Now there is a big hole at the top, but the rest of the map is pretty well covered. No scout spam, which is why we normally see Junos. Just look at that force. 105 units. How many tanks? 83 brutes. Not only that, but you got more at the top. Huge numbers. And as this Sheldon group gets caught off, the Shivas can at least retreat into the sea, but one Shiva may get killed here as look at them all piling onto the shore. And they actually do manage to kill one Shiva. somehow able to continue hitting it even when it's underwater. And we do see him catching up even more. Barcast hoping that the huge splash damage of the Tsar would be enough to deal with this huge quantity of units, but I think it's just too many units. Barcast obviously going for a very traditional approach here of just throw tech free at the problem, but we're noticing that that's not quite working as intended, as he's unable to push in against the bulwark at the bottom. Not only is the bulwark there, but it's also defended by a Tech 2 wall and a Tech 2 artillery defending this bottom side. In the middle here, some gunships are trying to make a bit of a dent, and that's only going to be there until fighters notice, which is now. And Blodir definitely has more fighters, as we see all of the red removed from the sky. But Barcast is getting the reclaim here. Blodir with his own Tech 3 now. I'm liking seeing multiple factories, like seeing all of these Tech 1 factories pumping out brutes is quite nice. Blodir is still with, you know, decent amount of metal, still is slowly upgrading some of the bottom mechs down here to Tech 3. Tech 2 rather. And here we see the Shivas trying to stop this push, but there's just too many brutes. Now, a lot of them are dying as this push, but first Shiva goes down. Second one is about to die as well. One going down at the top. There you go, leaving only one left, and Blodir Shiva is completely undamaged. And another wave of tanks is already ready to go, and all of this reclaim already being eaten here by both players, actually. Barcast choosing to go for the air approach and losing most of his build power there. Well, at least the Tech 2 build power. No more metal extractors will be able to be built there. Now, I'm not sure how effective it would be, but I'd be interested to see how demons would work here. Now, obviously, they're a lot more expensive than a Shiva. We're talking 3 to 1, basically, when it comes metal cost. But considering how clumped up all these tanks are, I'm wondering if a demon's speed and AoE damage would be more effective. But I guess right now he just needs numbers. Losing more and more Shivas. Really struggling to hold Barcast. Blodir very effectively using his resources. You can see he hasn't really overbuilt energy. He's just building just enough to basically keep him on the go. If anything, he maybe has not enough. This is 8k there for a second energy usage. His metal is slowly building up, whereas Barcast has built plenty of energy. Has excessed probably quite a bit. But meanwhile, this hole has been unable to be plugged by Barcast. He's trying to build some Tech 2 defenses in an attempt to stop it, and the same down here. But Banishers make pretty short work of the pop-ups. If the Banishers don't end up going into range, that is. Bit of a mistake, but... And now we're 30 minutes in. So bear in mind that the last match lasted 30 minutes. Look at the difference in the game. Masses of Tech 3. Front spam though coming out from Barcast. Attempt to get the flanking damage and use some of the shots of the forces of the Shivas here. Now, when it comes to Shivas, I'm pretty sure Barcast has slightly more. But it's very close. But that is just Shivas. Blodir has, of course, 104 Tech 1 tanks just behind it with more at the top. Barcast is slowly winning this attrition war. Say that as he's just fallen back. No decisive plan from either player here in an attempt to win. I think Barcast is mostly just trying to survive right now. Reclaim is being secured by Blodir though. Further back it is being secured by Barcast, but not on the actual front line, and Barcast slowly running out of Shivas here. He has more coming in from behind, but the tank's going to be able to make it through again. Even play it with a sizable Resball blob, but look at this push. Huge amount of tanks have managed to find the bot labs. And Blodir again not going in completely here. Just keeping these tanks up there to basically add the pressure. See, Barcast has to move all of his forces that he had in the center up here to defend, leaving the reclaim field in the center that was hard fought over now to Blodir. And what can Barcast do? Well, right now it's really hard for Barcast. I mean, this Shiva here could walk through this water, try and get a bit of damage. That's one thing it could do. There's nothing really there that would stop it. It'd get maybe pecked at by the bulwark, but he'd still manage to get through. It would force Blodir to redirect some forces. Instead, he's just slowly taking damage from an artillery that is not really doing much. Both players are building up aphuses and have anti-nukes as well. Neither player going for a nuke at this point. Blodir is still not really making enough energy to convert. You can see that these converters are actually not on unless that is a visual bug. But this Tech 1 tank push is doing substantial work here. Combining that with the Shivas is able to just get past the Shivas. The Shivas aren't able to kill them quick enough. Now, Barcast's option here is to try and add gunships here and attempt to whittle down some of the tanks. Now, there is an occasional banisher in this mix here. And Barcast does have mostly Tech 1 and Tech 2 fighters, which will win out against the mostly Tech 1 fighters of Blodir. Now, Barcast is buying time for his gunships to do some work, throwing his fighters at the enemy's base. It's not going to provide much time. And there are the last of the fighters, meaning it's free reign to go after the gunships now. And here the fighters come. Gunships now having to fall back. They did push back far enough for the reclaim field to now be under control of Barcast, at least momentarily. I think maybe adding a catapult here to a Barcast would help significantly. It would help deal with Blodir's like grouped up units before they at least make that push. Maybe not over investing too much on catapults. Maybe a single one would be sufficient here. But just something that kind of makes Blodir not want to group up quite so many forces. Speaking of which, actually. Oh, he's already built one. Well, there you go. We actually see the same plan here from Blodir. Now, one thing Blodir could do, though, is Blodir instead could push this way with his Tech 3. Also, he could send 2 Tech 3 down at the bottom here. Just send 2 Shivas down and just make a push along here. See what damage you can do. If he can clear up to this, he can move through the water and do a substantial amount of damage. Also, maybe a bombing run would prove very successful for Blodir. 2 catapults now out from Barcast, and we're seeing just how much damage catapults can do against just static targets. Shivas are going down left and right. The Tech 1 forces of Blodir have been pushed right back. Catapult now up on the high ground as well. Now Blodir does just need to chase down the catapults. Surprising actually how effective these Krakenhafts are. And counter catapults coming out from Blodir now as well. But Blodir actually has radar and jammer in the mix, which is something that Barcast is tremendously missing. Meaning that his forces are not going to be able to fire as effectively because of the radar jammer. Now there is grunt spam going out, so radar jammers don't mean too much when you've got grunt spam, but if the catapults do their job effectively, that grunt spam won't get through anyway. It's very close here so far. Barcast is slowly losing on the Shiva front. These Shivas are pretty much almost all dead. More and more jammers coming out, which is going to then rely on vision for Barcast. And even a bit of friendly fire there. The catapult's starting to take damage. And 1 catapult dead. Second catapult dead. 1 left, and that one is about to die soon as well. Shivas are not being brought up quick enough to defend. Able to break through yet again. Another catapult has been made, but wow, able to. I don't know how Barcast is doing it, but Barcast able to hold off yet again. Huge air fight. Blodir wins it this time. But we actually see, let's have a look quickly. We see Grunts, Grave Robber, and Trashers coming out from Barcast heading south. We see a bunch of Tech 1 bot labs, sorry, at the top here. Grunts, AA, Grunts. That's a good mixing in AA here. They will just shoot down the fighters, shurikens, or any of that jazz that comes their way. Won't add to the, will add to the scout force actually, but will help considering Barcast has fallen a bit behind with their superiority. Barcast pushing back though. Now the question is how quickly can Barcast get this reclaim? There is 30k of reclaim. Barcast is surprisingly ahead on, well, metal a second is a bit hard to judge, but energy a second definitely. Metal produced is very close, only 2% difference between the players here. Army value is currently, this is currently advantage Barcast, but it is such a small percent that just losing a couple of units makes the difference here. As we see, it's already switched back over to Blodir. This game neck and neck, everything is basically fighting over this reclaim field here. And Blodir just churning units out here. It's now switching to pounders in an attempt to counter that grunt spam. Catapult at very long range. Now Barcast is, rather than eating some of this, he's actually rezzing these units at the back. And the fighters come in here and attempt to get the gunships, but they do manage to do the job. But with AA being piled through this, it's going to make it a bit more difficult for him to win these fights. Still, it's enough. I am surprised we're not seeing a bombing run or something from Blodir. Just going down here. Does he still have Tech 1? I mean, yeah, he has Tech 1 vehicles. He has built Tech 2 vehicle. He could build even a bunch of Gar pikes would actually make it through here, which is quite funny when you think about it. All of this economy, all of this stuff, and some Gar pikes that just managed to walk through here. Killing these energy converters would pretty much end the game. I would pretty much define this match as a slugfest. Both players are pretty much not willing to give up the reclaim field here. You know what's also funny is a nuke would work tremendously well here. If you just nuked right here or right here, that would take out either player's army. And it would pretty much mean the other would just be able to roll in. But the investment that would be required on a nuke would be so much that they would definitely much rather have units. This is another thing. We see Krakenafs, Karkanafs being mixed in here from Barcast. Again, a single one of those maybe going somewhere would maybe provide value. It's hard to say. To be honest, maybe not with all the bulwarks out. Barcast does have more res bots here and is actually able to res stuff and eat stuff pretty quickly here. The reclaim field is going more and more into Barcast's favor. Dragons now also coming out, and the fighters are already on the scene here to protect the dragons. Now there are already flags built by Blodir. The dragons have fallen back already. Oh, not far enough back though, as one of them already gets shot down. Oh, the reclaim ball did get killed. And here we see the first switch off to something different. Juggernaut has been detected in Barcast space. Let's see if he's able to build it in time. Now, what's your opinion on the Juggernaut? There's actually a suggestion in the Bar Discord at the moment to change the Juggernaut a bit, to give it tac nukes. Similar to how the Armada 4 works, it would have the missile in the back would be changed to a tac nuke. What's your thoughts on that? I kind of feel like that role should be, you know, given more to the Mammoth as a building, as a unit, sorry, that's specifically made to take out defenses. But I do see the point in that the missile on its back is pretty worthless, and yeah. alive. There we go. Right, Blodir would have heard that, instantly knows what it is. What's he doing to deal with it? No banishers. He's building his own. That's what he's doing. So Barcast, you need to make this count. It's a matter of time until Blodir builds his own. I'm actually interested in economy here. So we have Blodir currently with 7 Aphuses, about to build his 8th. Barcast massively outscaling him with 13 Aphuses. And this is how Barcast has managed to stay in. He's pretty much got most of the reclaim field, to be honest with you, that has appeared. And there's still quite a bit left, but Barcast not doing too much pressure with this, to be honest with you. I expected him to do a little bit more. Wow, a lot of popper parties have actually been put in place here as well. Not entirely true. It has built flax, hence the 5 flax, 4 flax here, and the radar jammers. But yes, not as effective as it could have been. A couple of banishers out here would have made a huge difference, but Blodir kind of walking the tightrope with his economy to a degree here, wanting to focus on getting the jugs built. And here comes the scout spam now from Blodir. The tanks of yesteryear have gone, and this will kind of waste a lot of shots of... the catapult's still alive. No, catapult's died. Blodir, not Blodir, sorry. Barcast never rebuilding the catapults. Interestingly enough as well, we see even more Tech 1 factories being built up here. We see a total of 6 Tech 1 factories and a Tech 2 factory. We never see that many factories. And finally, we're seeing some strap bombers coming out from Barcast. I am surprised he's building all of this economy so far forward and not, you know, like building it back here where it might be a bit safer. Barcast lives on the edge. Even this one here, like this is like ridiculous. That is ballsy. Now, both players have a juggernaut. Only one. So the question is what is the deciding factor here? Strap bombers going in versus the like early forces here. I'm not quite sure why. Why are the strap bombers going so far forward? I think he may be trying to bait Blodir's fighters. What fight move though? I think he's trying to bait Blodir's fighters so that Blodir loses all of his fighters against all of the AA. Yeah, you see him turn him around. He has mostly a bunch of Tech 1 AA just being spammed out, and then he has his fighters. He's wanting to bait in Blodir's fighters so that he can then go in with his strap bombers. The problem is, he's showed the strap bombers now, and so Blodir knows that he needs to build up more AA. So it's kind of a double-edged sword here. His plan to bait Blodir didn't work. Wow, that's missed. Screamer as well. And the thing is all this is here. I was going to say, is he going to maybe attack somewhere else with all of this? This is what may make or break the game now. Barcast is going to go in here with the bombers. Fighters go in, bombers behind them. There is definitely not enough fighters here. Barcast realizes that, instantly turns around, just like, nope. Barcast definitely needs more fighters. Two jugs to one jug. Now the risky thing is Barcast could, in theory, just walk this guy. Just walk it. Self-D it. If you're not aware, Jug explodes with the size of a nuke when it dies. And the explosion actually does more damage if you self-destruct it. And because of that, it can often be used as basically a rolling bomb. That's what most people's arguments against the Jug is that it's kind of just a bomb, a very, very expensive nuke. Interestingly, we see shields here, expecting LRPCs to come out from Barcast, which he has not done that at all. Barcast hasn't invested in shields whatsoever, which is also a funny thing. An LRPC just here would pretty much completely destroy Barcast. Three Juggernauts now to Blodir's one. Economy is ridiculous. 200k of metal advantage here to Barcast. Yes, you heard that right. 200,000 metal difference between the two players. And yet, Barcast is still in a very, very defensive position. And we actually see a nuke finally being built here by Barcast. Question is, where will he drop it? Because he is not in a great position. Modulo is correct. There is plenty of strap bombers here, and Barcast is already at a disadvantage when it comes to air. He has pretty much no AA, and with his stuff being so far forward, if Barcast loses this, it's GG. Oh, yeah, that's true. There's also no anti-nuke on this corner. Barcast has just built too many AFUSs, 24 of them to be precise, as opposed to Blodir's 11. If this game continues on, eventually Barcast should win. Although I think this may be the end. The end is near. Nuke goes off at the top. Kills most of the swarm at the top, but that's not the important bit. The important bit is these fighters. And the skies are clear as the strap bombers try and make their way in. And there we go. Say goodbye, economy of Barcast. Humongous explosion as Barcast loses all of his economy. Now, the only thing is, if Barcast is able to make the most out of this push that he's nuked a hole for, he may be able to pull this back. Jugs are not going to be able to fire as effectively as they need to. He needs to try and fix that rapidly. If he is able to fix his energy requirements, he may still be able to win this. Oh, no, but Barcast calls the GG. It was 4-3 Jugs, with not being able to shoot his Jugs effectively. So, fair enough.
Battle ended.
Damn. That was a close game. Very, very close. I'm loving the use of so many factories. I mean, we got 2, 3, 4 air labs, tech 1, a tech 2, tech 3, 3 tech 1 vehicle labs, 2 tech 1 bot labs, and a tech 2 vehicle plant. Just amazing. Great game, both players. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this crazy 1v1, and I'll see you all next time.